Let's get started getting in here, taking a look at some contracts. So under career evolution, I can see we got one here, early space program, and do an uncrewed flight. So you think you know what it takes to operate a space program? Well, I guess the first thing you need to do is launch your first rocket. Let's see how high you can go. So we're going to hopefully launch a rocket. Go at least 200 meters off the ground. Well, hopefully we can accomplish that. So that looks like a good one to grab right away. And I can grab one more. Oh, down here. Kerbal kind achievement records. Leave the launch pad. Very similar sort of thing. Ensure that your vessel's name is tagged as a probe, not a relay, rover, or debris. Okay, I'll make sure of that. Type probe. And I guess just don't have anybody on it. And just get flying. Get off the launch pad. Okay, there we go. Let's do it. That's our first mission. Let's get in here and do this thing. And we'll talk about some of the mods and how this is, yeah, burner, I know. Okay, so my only probe body is the good old Stayputnik. Stayputnik, of course, does not have SAS compatibility, which actually I kind of find fun for the first little while, but other people I know find annoying. I can change, you can just put that on and off. Okay. And popping up here is Kerbal Engineer. That's a mod that is very, very popular. I like to keep it on compact. It gives me stats about it, and what's really funny is when these stats conflict with the stats that stock gives me. Okay, let's see what we got down here for engines. We have the Might engine. Yes, that is a good choice. So the teeny tiny Might engine. Also have the Flea SRB, but I think the might be a better choice to get started with. Still gives me a lot of Delta V here. Let's take a look at this probe body. And we'll take a look at some of the things that Kerbalism does for us. So what Kerbalism does is change the way the science works. This probe body can now do, this is a new bit of science added in by Kerbalism called a telemetry report. You can configure the science by pushing the button down there to do other things as well. Unfortunately, that's the only one I got right now. And notice that it takes time to do it. It's going to take 30 seconds for it to collect that science. That science gets collected as data. It will generate 750 kilobytes of data. You have to do something with that data. You can either transmit it or store it. Notice that the data capacity of the Stayputnik is only 500 kilobytes, but we can increase that to a megabyte so that at least I know this can be stored. And then down here, I love, stock doesn't do this well enough, I don't think, where it tells you what situations it all works. I can do this landed, I can do this splashdown, I can do this flying low, flying high. All of those are biome specific. And space low and space high, I can do a telemetry report. So we'll get started with that. Might end up having to modify this a little bit. See how it goes. Okay, what else we got? This is all going to be a lot of emptiness, isn't it? All the way down. We got some tail fins. We got a little rocket cone. That's a very little rocket cone. I don't think I need that. Oh, that! Okay, the tail fins looks... I might need it, though. It looks so big. Alright, I might need that, and I'll show you a trick for how we might stabilize this rocket in a second using the tail fins. Going down. Batteries, probably, I'm going to throw on one. Well, let's throw on 3 for now, but I might change that with a little bit of thought. Oh, we do have antennas to start off with. Awesome. I wasn't sure if that was going to happen. So let's throw on the Communitron 16S. We also have the Communitron 8. I think that's coming from Kerbalism. It's a smaller version of the Communitron 16. With smaller range but smaller electricity requirements. The issue with it is that it is fragile when deployed, and this thing I think is going to have some adventures. Oh, we do have a thermometer. Excelente. So let's stick the thermometer. We'll rearrange this, and we do have a goo. Okay, so we do have to think. Thinking's never good. There's more here than I thought there was. And that is an inline goo. I love this. This is coming from Restock. Is it a small? It is a little part. Look at that. A little. Let's put it under here, and I can use that. But a little inline goo. I can open that up. There it is there. You can see the goo inside. Nice. Okay. So it's exactly the same as this goo container, but it's inline rather than a radial part. What else we got? What else we got? We have parachutes and EVA packs. Clearly that doesn't matter. And there's our Communitron 8 antenna. You can see it is coming from Kerbalism because it's under the Kerbalism tab. Okay, let's really think about some design here. And one of the really groovy things I love about Kerbalism are these two tabs they give you down here. This is a little tab to help you plan. It's going to stay open for me. Please stay open for me. There we go. To help you plan your mission. So like how much electric charge do you have? But really, it's also telling you, if we turn on our telemetry report right now, it's turning it on, that it's telling you, notice if you look here at how much electricity you're consuming. Right now it's 0.028 per second. You turn that on and now it's 0.08 per second. So it's totaling up your total electrical consumption. We can also turn on our thermometer. What's really cool about turning on the science ahead of time is what Kerbalism will do is not do any of that science until you reach a situation where there's science to collect, which means in the VAB you can set these guys to waiting and then you don't have to think about it too much after that, which is, I think, fantastic. And let's see here. So I think that is all my science, 0.82, or all my electricity. And what we can do, let's go to the thermometer here, because we got more extra information added to this. The thermometer takes 2 minutes to do a temperature reading. And during that time, oh, notice that you don't do it, oh, you can do it on the surface, that's good. And during that time, it's consuming, where is the electricity rate? 0.12 per minute. So that's only about like 0.24, to be less than 0.3 units of electricity it's going to consume. But you got to think about that. It's not a lot, but Kerbalism can sneak up on you with the electricity cost, so it's great that they give you this kind of information. I'm thinking, how many kilobytes is this? This is oh, how big can I make this? Not that big. So we're gonna put the data capacity up to 2, but you know what? I think I'm gonna start. Well, do I not have parachutes? I don't have parachutes. Okay, we're transmitting. I was thinking I was going to just store all the data and recover it, but without any kind of parachutes, this thing's going to hit the ground and be destroyed for our first flight. That's awesome. We need an explosion for our first flight. So we need to think about transmission. I'm going to put on the Communitron 16S. I'm going to stick it right down here. I'm going to rotate it the way I want. Let's just put a single battery here for now until I've worked this out. Okay, so the Communitron 16S here. Again, you gotta think about electricity. This thing is not completely indestructible, but certainly a lot hardier than the Communitron 8 is. But if we look at electricity consumption, while it's transmitting, it's 0.03 per second. Notice there's a button here that can you simulate the transmission in the planner. If I toggle that on and off with the yes, it's adding on to my electricity consumed here. So here it's telling me that in total this thing is going to consume 0.12 electric charge per second. It has about 110 units of storage, so in about 10 seconds it's going to use up all of that stored electricity. So I think putting on 3 of these like I had before is probably a good plan. Now that'll last for about 30 seconds. That's probably as long as this thing's going to fly for, to be quite frank. I'm going to move this antenna. And I'm doing my best to read the chat. I'm just finding it, I find it challenging to do it. and we'll put the thermometer over here. Just one of them. So put it up higher, right beside that battery. So that's good, that's good, that's good. Now, when this thing goes up, I will have no control over it. There's no antenna, so I won't be able to steer it at all. It's just going to be on its own. So something that really does help it at least fly in an approximation of a straight line is if you take these tail fins, put this, toggle the snap off, and just rotate them ever so slightly, like that. Then as this goes up, whoops, I pushed the wrong button. This is the one I want to push. This thing will start to spin. To be honest, I think I need to put more rotation on that. So this thing will begin to spin like a football, an American football that is, for all our European viewers. And that will help to stabilize it along this central axis. It's called gyro stabilization, and it really works when you ain't got anything else that you can work with as far as stabilization goes. Finally, I want to take a look at my thrust to weight ratio. So my thrust to weight ratio is 2.1. That's in a vacuum. I put it to atmosphere, it's 1.85. I could also get that information down here, but I like it up here. I'm used to that. And if I just turn the thrust limiter down, I'm going to have it so that it takes off at 0.34. That's fine. It's going to have a 2.65 thrust to weight ratio by the time the fuel runs out, so it's going to be trucking it. All right, this is called Sounding Rocket 1. I'm going to turn everything else off. I have likely forgotten things. That's the one thing with Kerbalism. It gives you so much more to think about. The chances of me forgetting something have increased. So if you're looking for me to mess up, my chances of that happening have all increased for sure. I'm going to turn to goo. I'm going to put it to waiting. I should point out something else with the goo. There's so many things that this thing, that Kerbalism adds to the game. If I go to the goo, and click it on here, when you collect goo, and it's the same thing for materials-based science, and it's the same thing for EVA science, I believe, in collecting, maybe not EVA science, but definitely collecting surface samples, is they don't make data, they instead collect samples, something physical that cannot be transmitted, that needs to be returned, which it completely tells me that it is going to be useless on this because this thing is going to crash and burn. There's no sense having a goo on it because there's nothing to transmit. You can't transmit the goo. You have to recover it. It gets stored into a sample slot. The full experiment takes 10 minutes and 41 seconds. This thing is never going to live 10 minutes and 45 seconds. But even if it did, I'd have to recover that sample, which I can't. It stores it in a sample size slot. The experiment generates one slot, one sample size that fits one slot, and the goo itself has only one slot available. What does that mean? That means that you can only run the goo once. Doesn't matter if you got scientists to restart it or anything like that. It has used up its goo, as it were. I'm going to take that off because I don't think it really has much of a purpose until I can recover the thing. I guess I could just not launch it at all, but that doesn't help my contracts, does it? Okay, now I can turn the thrust down some more. I can see, there we go, 0.136. Okay, now, last thing, let's save this. Last thing before we get started with this experiment that's probably not going to accomplish too much anyway. Remember I turned off reverts. So if this thing completely fails, I can't revert back to Launchpad or revert back to the VAB. So what I have installed is the crash simulator. It's this little button down here. If I press sim, right, it brings up this little menu, and it tells me that I can, by the way, right now I can't select orbits. Even Kerbin I can't select orbits because you have to first get there before you can do it. But as you unlock other bodies, as you get to them, you can start doing simulations around other bodies. You can do simulations landed, but I can't do that because I haven't started yet. But I can simulate this on the launch pad. Actually, I might be able to simulate it in Kerbin's orbit. Looks like I can. Okay, getting distracted. But it is going to cost me some funds. So it's going to cost me 368 funds to just run the simulation. And then for every minute, it's going to cost another 68 funds. And the bigger your vessel, the more this is going to cost. So it's a nice thing, but what it does, if I push the simulation, is it very clearly defines we are now in a simulation. If things go wrong, that's cool. That's fine. I'm allowed to revert back. But once I say, okay, we're out of simulation mode, then things are for real. Okay, now, there's nothing for me to do with this thing except push the space bar and launch it because I have no control. So it's going off. And it's starting to spin up. I think I should be putting on a little bit more thrust. Maybe not. Might be doing all right. But that spinning is helping to stabilize it. If I go to Kerbalism, click on my sounding rocket, it is, and if I click on data, it is collecting all kinds of scientific data for me and doing its best to transmit that stuff away. It's telling me here the hard drive is already 50% full. So that's what it is. But it's collecting all kinds of science. I think this is fine. So what we're going to do, I don't need to spend any more. I got my sim cost. I spent 423 Kerb bucks on that. What we're going to do is we're going to terminate this simulation. We're going to go back to the vehicle assembly building. And now we're going to launch this puppy for real. So we're going to save it one more time. I don't know why I did that, but we're just going to launch. Alrighty, so here we are. I'm going to show you another mod I got. I really like this mod. This is the Contracts Window Plus. It's really simple little mod. It is simply telling me what contracts I've picked up so I can keep them in a separate window. I like it so much better than this window, which especially as you pick up more and more contracts is difficult to navigate. I'm going to let this thing collect some reports. Notice that we are collecting data here. It's still collecting a temperature scan. Whoops. Come back. And that temperature scan is going to take another 41 seconds. This is a temperature scan on the surface. So we're going to just let that go. Can't I time warp? I'm pushing the wrong button. Sure, I can time warp. So we'll time warp that away. Make sure I don't run out of electricity too. No, I'm doing fine. Okay, that is now, whoa. Oh, it's still, okay, I think it's done. Let me look at the thermometer this way. Here's my thermometer. Yeah, it's done. It's collected its 2.4 science. It's now transmitting that science away, but it can do that while it flies. So let's just hit this thing and do it. So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Noticing a persistent rotation window up there. Can I turn that off? Where's persistent rotation? I don't see a button for this. Okay, that shouldn't be there. Ignore that window. Oh, we are going off into wherever. That's good. We won't land back onto the any buildings or anything like that. So that's all for the best. Our 2 contracts got satisfied, so that's good. We can close those. Close that. And this is heading off to the water, which is just about perfect. You can, by the way, also, there's another Kerbalism window. If we open this up, we can have this one open at the same time. This is the science archive. Rather than going into the VAB, I can look here. So for instance, I know I'm doing a telemetry report. So here it's telling me that how much is in research and development, how much is actually being on this flight right now, and how much I still have to collect. So like for instance, when it comes to the telemetry report landed, I have, oh, we're out of fuel. I have 0.7 science in the research and development. I have 0.9 science on this flight, which is about to be destroyed. So maybe I should have waited for that all to transmit away before I launched. And I also got some stuff. Well, we got all the stuff from the shore, so that's good. And how did my temperature scan do? My thermometer. There, it's underneath it. Oh, that doesn't look encouraging. What's up with that? There it goes. Temperature scan, all 2.4 from the surface, but the rest of this looks like I'm going to lose it. I got 1 from the flying over the shores, and oh, boom. That's that. So, that's okay. Close that. We'll go back to the Space Center. It's going to be small baby steps with this. Small baby steps. Now, did they reduce the cost? I have 7.5 science, so I can get something. Hoorah! So these are bigger rockets. I don't know if I really... Oh, the shrimp solid. That sounds interesting. Just a bigger one. Engineering. We got... Oh, more science. More science. Decouplers. Where are the pairs? Oh, down here, obviously. Okay, so we're going to have to wait for parachutes. That's going to cost 15. Let's get Engineering 101 for another science part.